Willie D live.
What's up, family? Ruben Ray Martinez was gunned down by an ICE agent in Texas last year on March 15th. And now, the only witness to the crime, the incident, is dead. This after a fiery car crash. Yeah, fam. Here's a story per Newsweek. The only passenger in the car with Ruben Ray Martinez when he was fatally shot by a CBP agent in South Texas last year has died in a separate car accident, attorneys told Newsweek. Joshua Orta, 25, a close friend who was with Martinez during the shooting and the only known eyewitness, had planned to formally sign a statement and assist with further inquiries into the incident before he was killed over the weekend in an unrelated highway collision near San Antonio, according to Martinez's family attorney. Orta's statement contradicted the Department of Homeland Security's version of events. Martinez, 23, was shot and killed on March 15, 2025 in South Padre Island, Texas, during an encounter with federal agents that authorities later confirmed involved a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Homeland Security Investigations Unit, an involvement that was not publicly disclosed at the time. Inquiring minds wants to know why not. So what did Joshua Orta have to say about Ruben Martinez's death that was so important that would make somebody want to kill him? Well, in a sworn statement given to lawyers representing Martinez's family, Orta described the events leading up to the shooting as spontaneous and lighthearted, recounting a trip to visit friends on South Padre Island just days after Martinez's birthday. And for those of you who don't know, South Padre Island is a spring break spot, really like just a hangout spot for a lot of kids. They don't just go on spring break, but during spring break, which is in March, it's big out here in Texas. So it appears that he was just out there trying to have a good time. So according to Orta, the two were driving cautiously through traffic when local and state officers approached their car. He said Martinez never struck anyone, accelerated dangerously, or posed a threat, contradicting official claims. The trooper seemed to be trying to get in front of the car, like he wasn't moving out of the way when we tried to turn around and leave like the police officer told us to do. Does that remind y'all of anybody? Can anybody think of, what was this woman's name? Renee Good? Yeah, it sounds like something that happened with Renee Good. You know, the officer just placed himself in front of the car and then started shooting, gave himself an excuse to kill her, right? So the trooper didn't seem to be trying to get out of the way. Interesting. Orta said that a federal agent fired multiple shots at Martinez from just a few feet away without issuing any warning or giving him a chance to comply. He recounted that officers delayed medical aid for at least 10 minutes after Martinez was shot and handcuffed him while he was clearly unconscious. You know, they like doing that, you know. They'll shoot you 50-some times and then act like they're applying CPR or something. Or they just make sure that you bleed out and die. Hey, dead man can't talk, can't give his side of the story, right? Following the shooting, law enforcement pulled Ruben from the car while he was clearly unconscious or already dead, Orta wrote. Despite this, they put him face down on the pavement and handcuffed him. At least 10 minutes passed before any tried CPR or other treatment on Ruben. Ruben was driving cautiously in traffic in his proper lane and certainly did not strike anyone with his vehicle, Orta wrote. In his account of the incident, Orta said Martinez's family had been denied access to records of the man's death, adding that authorities had alleged he had illegally entered an ambulance lane, struck an officer, and was in possession of drugs and alcohol, which Orta said was not true. He also said neither the federal agent who had shot Martinez nor other law enforcement officers at the scene had body cam switch activated. Both body camera use has been scrutinized in other federal agent-involved incidents, including Minneapolis, where DHS leadership recently announced a body camera rollout for agents working in the field. We can stop right there, fam, because I'm tired of this damn page just jumping and jumping. This is what happens when you go to these websites with all these damn ads. But in any event, appreciate your news week for the story, and don't want to appear too ungrateful here. But in any event, fam, this sounds like an execution to me, but I don't want to sway anybody's opinion. Y'all give me a thumbs up and let me know what y'all think. Give me a thumbs up if you think this was murder. Thumbs down if you say, nah, man, justified homicide. Thumbs up if you believe it was murder. Thumbs down if you say, nah, justified. You already know where I stand. I think it was murder. I think that the police officer intentionally placed himself in front of the car, because when you're not trying to get hit by a car, you get out of the way of the car. You don't put yourself in direct line of the car. You get out, you get off to the side of the car. You don't stand in front of the car purposely, unless you think you Billy Badass. Why would you stand in front of a car anyway, even if you got a gun? Why would you jump in front of a car? You jump in front of the car because you want to shoot the driver. You jump in front of the car to give yourself an excuse, a reason for shooting the driver. This is one of these tactics that they've been using. So if I were you, fam, if you find the police officer to be close to the front of your car, on the side, front, make sure that car is in park. Do not have your hand, don't even have your hands on the steering wheel. Put your hands in the air, because this sounds like one of those stop resisting. This is even better, because they ain't even got to yell stop resisting now. They can just place themselves right in front of that car and boom, start shooting. All they got to do is say, I fear for my life. They don't really have to fear for their lives. They can just say that they fear for their lives, and they're going to be protected. This is cold-blooded, fam. This is just, say, fam, well, we know for a fact Ruben was murdered. We know that for a fact. You can speculate, strongly speculate, that Joshua was murdered. We can strongly speculate that. How convenient. The only witness to the murder just happens to die in a fiery car crash. Now, you know that it's a way for the government to take over your car these days, right? If your car got a computer system in it, the government hackers can go into your car and take over your computer controls. If they can control, if your car is controlled, you got a computer in there and it's controlled by a computer, the hackers can take over your car and guide your car wherever it wants to guide your car to. They can take over your car. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened. Every day we hear about more and more diabolical things that people within our government are involved in. And even if the government if something didn't happen at the behest of the government, oftentimes we have government officials covering it up. Because if it happens and it involves a government employee or someone of prominence, then they're often going to be protected. Man, every time I hear about stories like this, I go back to George Carlin when he said, it's one big club and you ain't in it. Every single time. Family, we're on our own out here. It's just simple as that. We're on our own. There ain't no protection. There ain't no protection for us. We're on our own. It's as simple as that. It's a cold game, man. Cold, cold, cold-blooded game. Cold game. This boy is 25 years old, got his whole life in front of him, doing the right thing. What is he supposed to do? His friend was gunned down. What is he supposed to do? He's not supposed to tell what he saw? You know what? I ain't got no problem with a friend stepping up for a friend and doing the right thing, even though he know that his life is at risk. You know, he had to know his life was at risk. So he got the complexion for the ICE to come for him and his family members. So he had an extra burden to consider. And he still went forward and said, nah, man, I'm testifying. How many of us would do that? I know I would for a fact. I ain't got no problem. I ain't got no problem standing up for mine. Yeah, I got one life to live, fam. And when I go, they're going to say, that's a man right there. That's a man in that casket. That's a man in that urn, however's going down, hey, that's a man right there. Yeah, I got one to live. I'm not going to live it like a coward. You know, that's cold-blooded, man. That's cold-blooded. We keep hearing about this is the same thing happened in the Netanyahu situation, right? The judge in the Netanyahu case, ends up dead. So many, and the crazy part about it is when this type of stuff happened, and what I mean is that when somebody is testifying against the government or somebody standing up against the government and they end up dead, the government has no sense of urgency to solve their murder or bring anybody to justice. But let it happen to somebody else. But let it happen to it could be a regular person, but if the government can use that regular person as an example of how strongly they believe in getting justice for victims, then they'll do that and make a big old deal out of it. Look out and then for a lot of people who don't really have two brain cells, they'll be like, for them, that's enough to justify giving the government another $5 million, or giving a city or municipality another $5 million to put more cops on the streets, or give the law enforcement more weapons and resources. Just that one bust. Make one bust, because that's what they do. They make a big bust every now and then, or they take down a major criminal, a menace every now and then, just to restore faith, or to give people hope. But what about this, man? What about how they take away hope? What about that? What about how they take away hope in these type of situations? I'm not sure, but I think that might be Ruben's mother. Cold-blooded, man, cold-blooded. But what say you, fam? Drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. No more talk.